Hare Krishna. Invocation prayers, please.
Yes, Prabhuji. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjalakshakaya Tatguru Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishyam Sthabinam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Katamayam Tadahanti Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Padakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavam Cha Sri Rupam Sagrajadam Sarvana Raghunanta Vitam Jajivam Satvaitam Savadudam Parijana Sakitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalitam Sri Vishakam Vichamcha Ye Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpati Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostade Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Panchakalpagaru Vishyat Pasindho Evacha Paditanam Pavaneshu Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you all for coming. We welcome Abhishek Prabhu. Some of you know Abhishek Prabhu from the other batches. Abhishek Prabhu has done a lot of scriptural study, and even for this Canto 4, he has spent time to get caught up on where we are. So welcome. Next Saturday, Sunday, which is July 12th and 13th, is Rath Yatra here in Toronto. So we will not have class on July 12th and 13th. I will send Prabhupada lecture for you all to listen to. So today, we will cover Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 9, about half of the chapter. Let's begin with you all explaining one or more points and asking one or more questions from before.
Prabhuji, last time you have given the endeavor 3 plus 4th one realization from Bhagavad Gita 8.7, Srimad Bhagavatam 10.14.8, Srimad Bhagavatam 4.8.34. So I will narrate my realization. What is the essential instruction from the life of Dhruva Maharaj? Desires are two types. One is material and the second one is spiritual. Material desires satisfy one's personal senses, whereas in spiritual desire, one is ready to sacrifice to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even if one has many material desires to fulfill, if one takes to Krishna consciousness and wishes and worships the Lord by the mercy of Lord Krishna, their desire is fulfilled. No one is prohibited from worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, despite many material desires. I am prepared, but let somebody cover up the other points, and in case you need me, you may advise me. Thank you, sir.
All right, rest of you.
Prabhuji, if Vaishnava mantra or the Vaishnava way of worshipping the deity, he is allowed to chant the Pranava mantra, Prabhuji.
Okay, very good.
Prabhuji, and that out of that homework, Desakala, what the meaning? Can I try this one?
Yeah.
Desakala means according to time and country. Deity must be worshipped with holy water of Ganges and Yamuna. This is not possible for everybody. And the Salila refers to any water which is clear and collected purely can be used. Offering of flower garlands, fruits and vegetables are according to availability. Tulasi's leaves are very important for satisfying the Lord, which can be grown at the convenience. One cannot offer to the deity according to one's whims. We should observe the small points very attentively. This is my understanding.
Okay, very good.
Prabhuji, the fourth one, realization from 8.7, Prabhu. Tasmad sarvesu kalesu mam anvishvara yuttaja mayar apita manobuddhir mame vaishyasya asamsaya. In this, Lord says, you need not give up your prescribed duty. Continue your duty at the same time. Continue with your chanting and engage your mind and intelligence in Krishna. By doing so, one is transferred to the supreme planet.
Okay,
That is by connecting with Krishna, we can easily get free from material contamination. That's what my realization.
Yeah. Okay, so Krishna says, remember Krishna before doing the activity and after doing the activity, while doing the activity. The result will be everything gets offered to Krishna and you will go back to Krishna. All right, very good.
Again, 4.8.34, Prabhuji. That is, but one must be pleased to meet a person more qualified than him. And then by meeting less qualified person, one must be compassionate towards him. And by meeting equal to him, one should make friends. By this way, one will never be envious of others. This is the way to act in life.
All right, very good.
Nobody, if no one covers 10.14.8 and 4.8.5 Srimad Bhagavatam, if you will permit me, I will cover.
Go ahead.
10.14.8. This is the realization by my side. Krishna has been especially merciful to me in my life. And I am in the process of purification by whatever events that are taking place, plus or minus. One who remains alive in Krishna consciousness automatically inherits the mercy of the Lord, like the son inherits father's property. Su samik samana means a devotee avoids the mercy of this Lord while suffering the painful effects of previous karma. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna confirms, if one surrenders into him, no longer liable to suffer the reactions of previous karma, because the Lord removes the remnants of previous sinful mentality of enjoyment by giving punishment, which is perceived as sinful reactions. Lord creates by His special mercy certain situations to eradicate the remaining sinful remnants, to let go completely and go back to home, to Godhead. A bona fide servant of the Lord, the devotee, continues to offer respects and obeisances, realizes all hardships as a price to pay to gain personal association of the Lord, and get the punishment as purificatory, curative process administered by the Lord. This is 10.14.8, my realization. And I have personally come across many situations right from childhood. I am most blessed with a good family, good spouse, good job, and the last reset of the life, getting purified by this Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam classes for realization. The question number 2, 4.8.5 in Srimad Bhagavatam. What is the significance of Srila Narada Muni's Dhruva Pranava mantra? As stated by Narada Muni, as per the prescribed rules, one should accept the mantra through bona fide spiritual master or his disciple by succession. And here in the right ear, apart from this, one should chant or murmur the mantra in front of the deity or physical form. When Lord appears in person, he is no longer a physical form. Example, when iron rod is made red hot in fire, it is no longer iron. Similarly, when we make the form of the Lord in word, in wood, stone, metal, jewels, paint, and even within this mind, it is a bona fide spiritual transcendental form of the Lord. And chant mantra and also with love offer food whatever is available, and the Lord accept it as per Bhagavad Gita 9.26. Hare Krishna, these are my submissions, Prabhuji, based on realization.
All right, very good. A very good endeavor for all the points. 10.14.8 says that one who tolerates the reactions, he becomes qualified to receive the mercy of the Lord. This is how we're supposed to live. Right, very good. Any questions before we continue? Okay, so let's discuss Canto 4, Chapter 9. The context and the recap is that even as a child, because of his passionate Kshatriya nature, Dhruva becomes angry upon being chastised by his stepmother Suruchi. And Dhruva's mother Suniti does not know what to do in this situation. Therefore, Suniti advises Dhruva to worship the Lord, and then Dhruva leaves home to go to forest. Srila Narad Muni, as spiritual master, tests Dhruva's determination and advises Dhruva to go back home to practice spirituality when he grows up. Dhruva states to Srila Narad Muni that he cannot accept Srila Narad Muni's good advice, and he, Dhruva, asks Srila Narad Muni to show an honest path to achieve his goal. Hence, Srila Narad Muni instructs Dhruva on the process of devotional service to the Lord to attain his goal. Upon Dhruva's severe austerities, the effect of Dhruva's meditation is that the earth was pushed down because of his weight and all got suffocated. Hence the Lord appeared to stop Dhruva. The essential instruction from the life of Dhruva is that everyone is fit to worship the Lord, even if one has many material desires to fulfill. He should still take to Krishna consciousness and worship the Supreme Lord Krishna. And the other essential instruction is how to be free of envy. That upon meeting a more qualified person, one should rejoice and not be envious. On meeting a less qualified person, one should feel compassion and not look down on the less qualified. Upon meeting an equally qualified person, one should be friendly and not competitive. This way, one is never affected by the threefold miseries of material world. Canto 4, Chapter 9 is titled Dhruva Maharaj Returns Home and is divided into 7 parts. Part 1, verses 1 to 5. The Lord appears and empowers Dhruva to speak. Part 2 is verses 6 to 17. Dhruva Maharaj's prayers. Part 3, verses 18 to 26. The Lord bestows benedictions to Dhruva and departs. Part 4, verses 27 to 36. Dhruva's regret. Part 5, verses 37 to 53. Reception of Dhruva. Part 6, verses 54 to 64. Description of the city and the palace. Part 7, verses 65 to 67. Uttanapada enthrones Dhruva and retires. So Dhruva's meditation gets broken because the Paramatma within his heart that Dhruva was meditating upon suddenly disappeared. And when Dhruva opened his eyes, that same Lord was standing in front of him. Now, Dhruva wants to offer prayers, but he does not know because Dhruva is still about 5 years of age. Hence, the Lord touched his conch on Dhruva's head as benediction, because of which Dhruva became perfectly aware of Vedas, because the Lord's conch shell is not different than Vedas. We'll read verses 1, 2, 3 translations and purports. Is our dear Aditi able to read 1, 2, 3 translations and purport, chapter 9?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I will read it on. The great sage Maitreya told Vidura, when the demigods were thus reassured by the personality of Godhead, they were freed from all fears. And after offering their obeisances, they returned to their heavenly planets. Then the Lord, who is not different from Sahasra Shirsha incarnation, got on the back of Garuda, who carried him to the Madhuvana forest to see his servant Dhruva. Purport. The word Sahasra Shirsha refers to personality of Godhead known as Garbhodakashaya Vishnu. Although the Lord appeared as Shirodakshaya Vishnu, he has been described here as Sahasra Shirsha Vishnu because he is not different from Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. According to Srila Sanatana Goswami in his Bhagavatamrita, the Sahasra Shirsha personality of Godhead who appeared at that time was the incarnation known as Vishnigarbha. He created the planet known as Dhroloka, or the habitation of Dhruva Maharaj. Text 2. The form of the Lord, which was brilliant like lightning and which Dhruva Maharaj in his mature yogic process was fully absorbed in meditation, all of a sudden disappeared. Thus Dhruva was perturbed and his meditation broke. But as soon as he opened his eyes, he saw the Supreme Personality of God present, just as he had been seeing the Lord in his heart. But because of his mature position in yogic meditation, Dhruva Maharaj was constantly observing the form of the personality of Godhead within his heart. But all of a sudden, when the Supreme Personality of Godhead disappeared from his heart, he thought that he had lost him. Dhruva Maharaj was perturbed, but upon opening his eyes and breaking his meditation, he saw the same form of the Lord before him. The Brahma Samhita 5.38 is said, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena. A saintly person who has developed love of Godhead by devotional service always sees the Lord's transcendental form, Shyamsundara. This Shyamsundara form of the Lord within the heart of the devotee is not imaginable. When a devotee becomes mature in his prosecution of devotional service, he faces face to face the same Shyamsundara he has thought of during the entire course of his devotional service. Since the Supreme Lord is absolute, the form within the heart of the devotee, the form in the temple, and the original form in Vaikuntha, Vrindavana Dhama, are all the same. They are not different from one another. Text 3. When Dhruva Maharaj saw his Lord just in front of him, he was greatly agitated and offered him obeisance and respect. He fell flat before him like a rod and became absorbed in love of Godhead. Dhruva Maharaj in ecstasy looked upon the Lord as if he were drinking the Lord with his eyes, kissing the lotus feet of the Lord with his mouth, and embracing the Lord with his arms. Purport. Naturally, when Dhruva Maharaj personally saw the Supreme Personality of God face to face, he was very much agitated in awe and respect, and it appeared as if he were drinking the entire body of the Lord with his eyes. The devotee's love for Supreme Personality of God is so intense that he wants to kiss the lotus feet of the Lord constantly, and he wants to touch the tips of the toes of the Lord and constantly embrace his lotus feet. All these features of Dhruva Maharaj's bodily expression indicate that upon seeing the Lord face to face, he developed the 8 kinds of transcendental ecstasy in his body. Hare Krishna.
So this incarnation of the Lord is known as Vishnigarbha. He created the planet Dhruvaloka for Dhruva. All of us can see this planet from here, Earth. This is the polar star, the first star that we see just at the dawn hour. So Dhruva is in ecstasy. He is drinking Lord's sweetness with his eyes. He's kissing Lord's lotus feet with his mouth and embracing Lord with his arms. This is all what he wants to do. Now, verse 4 describes the term Brahma Maya. Abhishek Prabhu, 4 and 5 translations and purports.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Text 4, translation. Although Dhruva Maharaj was a small boy, he wanted to offer prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in suitable language. But because he was inexperienced, he could not adjust himself immediately. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, being situated in everyone's heart, could understand Dhruva Maharaj's awkward position. Out of his causeless mercy, he touched his conch shell to the forehead of Dhruva Maharaj, who stood before him with folded hands. Purport. Every devotee wants to chant the transcendental qualities of the Lord. Devotees are always interested in hearing about the Lord's transcendental qualities, and they are always eager to glorify these qualities. But sometimes they feel inconvenienced by humbleness. The personality of Godhead, being situated in everyone's heart, specifically gives a devotee intelligence to describe him. It is therefore understood that when a devotee writes or speaks about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his words are dictated by the Lord from within. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 10th chapter. To those who constantly engage in transcendental loving service of the Lord from within dictates what to do next in order to serve him. When Dhruva Maharaj felt hesitant, not knowing how to describe the Lord for want of sufficient experience, the Lord, out of his causeless mercy, touched his conscience to Dhruva's forehead, and he was transcendentally inspired. This transcendental inspiration is called Brahmamaya, because when one is thus inspired, the sound he produces exactly corresponds to the sound vibration of the Vedas. This is not the ordinary sound vibration of this material world. Therefore, the sound vibration of Hare Krishna mantra, although presented in ordinary alphabet, should not be taken as mundane or material. Text 5. Translation. At that time, Dhruva Maharaj became perfectly aware of the Vedic conclusion and understood the absolute truth and his relationship with all living entities. In accordance with the line of devotional service to the Supreme Lord, whose fame is widespread, Dhruva, who in the future would receive a planet which would never be annihilated, even during the time of dissolution, offered his deliberate and conclusive prayers. Purport. There are many important items to be considered in this verse. First of all, the relationship between the absolute truth and the relative material and spiritual energies is here understood by a student who has complete knowledge of the Vedic literature. Dhruva Maharaj never went to any school or academic teacher to learn the Vedic conclusion, but because of his devotional service to the Lord, as soon as the Lord appeared and touched his forehead with his conch shell, automatically the entire Vedic conclusion was revealed to him. This is the process of understanding Vedic literature. One cannot understand it simply by academic learning. The Vedas indicate that only to one who has unflinching faith in the Supreme Lord as well as in the spiritual master is the Vedic conclusion revealed. The example of Dhruva Maharaj is that he engaged himself in devotional service to the Lord according to the order of his spiritual master Narada Muni. As a result of his rendering such devotional service with great determination and austerity, the personality of Godhead personally manifested himself before him. Dhruva was only a child. He wanted to offer nice prayers to the Lord, but because he lacked sufficient knowledge, he hesitated. But by the mercy of the Lord, as soon as the Lord's conch shell touched his forehead, he became completely aware of the Vedic conclusion. That conclusion is based on proper understanding of the difference between Jiva and Paramatma, the individual soul and the supersoul. The individual soul is forever a servant of the supersoul, and therefore his relationship with the supersoul is to offer service. This is called Bhakti Yoga or Bhakti Bhava. Dhruva Maharaj offered his prayers to the Lord not in the way of impersonalist philosophers, but as a devotee. Therefore, it is clearly said here, Bhakti Bhava. The only prayers worth offering are those offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose reputation is spread far and wide. Dhruva Maharaj wanted to have the kingdom of his father, but his father refused even to allow him to get on his lap. In order to fulfill his desire, the Lord had already created a planet known as the pole star, Dhruvaloka, which was never to be annihilated even at the time of dissolution of the universe. Dhruva Maharaj attained this perfection not by acting hastily, but by patiently executing the order of his spiritual master, and therefore he became so successful that he saw the Lord face to face. Now he was further enabled by the causeless mercy of the Lord. to offer fitting prayers to the Lord. To glorify or offer prayers unto the Supreme, one needs the Lord's mercy. One cannot write to glorify the Lord unless one is endowed with His causeless mercy. Thank you.
So Brahma Maya, that Dhruva got transcendentally inspired by the touch of Lord's conch shell. This transcendental inspiration is called Brahma Maya because when one is thus inspired, the sound he produces exactly corresponds to the sound vibration of the Vedas. Now, this is not some ordinary sound vibration of this material world. Therefore, the sound vibration of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, although looks like ordinary alphabet, but should not be taken as mundane or material. Dhruva Maharaj never went to any school. Still, he became perfectly aware of the Vedic conclusion. One cannot understand it simply by academic learning. The result of Lord touching his conch shell on Dhruva is, first, Dhruva Maharaj attained the words to describe the Lord. Second, he understood the knowledge of the Lord and the Jiva. And third, Dhruva Maharaj offered prayers to the Lord. So this Lord giving the knowledge is also described in Bhagavad Gita 10.10. Tadami buddhi yogam yena mam upayanti te. Questions, comments, realizations so far?
Prabhuji, would you please repeat the second and third, the three things? First, I understood to attain the word to describe the Lord. The second one and third.
The result of Lord touching his conch shell on Dhruva Maharaj is, first, Dhruva Maharaj attained the words to describe the Lord. Second, he understood the knowledge of Lord and Jiva. And third, he offered prayers to the Lord.
Thank you.
Part 2 is verses 6 to 17. Title is Dhruva Maharaj's Prayers. Verses 6 and 7 talk about the fact that Lord is master of the senses. Here the difference between Maya and Swadhama is explained. The Lord enlivens the senses of his devotees by his internal energy, Swadhama. And that same energy works as Maya to engage others in material activities. Chandran Prabhu, verse 6, translation and purport, paragraph number 1 and 2.
Hare Krishna. Text 6. Dhruva Maharaja said, "My dear Lord, you are all powerful. After entering within me, you have enlivened all my sleeping senses, my hands, legs, ears, touch sensation, life force, and especially my power of speech. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto you." Purport. Dhruva Maharaja could understand very easily the difference between his condition before and after attaining spiritual realization and seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. He could understand that his life force and activities had been sleeping. Unless one comes to the spiritual platform, his bodily limbs, mind, and other facilities within the body are understood to be sleeping. Unless one is spiritually situated and all his activities are taken as a dead man's activities or ghostly activities. Srila Bhakti Vinoda Thakura has composed a song in which he addresses himself, "O living entity, get up. How long shall you sleep on the lap of Maya? Now you have the opportunity of possessing a human form of body. Now try to get up and realize yourself. The Vedas also declare, get up, get up. You have the opportunity. The boon of the human form of life. Now realize yourself. These are the Vedic injunctions. Dhruva Maharaja actually experienced it upon enlightenment of his senses on the spiritual platform. He could understand the essence of Vedic instruction. The Supreme Godhead is the Supreme Person. He is not impersonal. Dhruva Maharaja could immediately understand this fact. He was aware that for a very long time he was practically sleeping, and he felt the impetus to glorify the Lord according to the Vedic conclusion. A mundane person cannot offer any prayer of or glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead because he has no realization of the Vedic conclusion. When Dhruva Maharaja therefore found this difference within himself, he could immediately understand that it was because of the causeless mercy of the Lord. He offered obeisances to the Lord with a great respect and reverence, completely understanding that the Lord's favor was upon him. This spiritual enlightenment of Dhruva Maharaja's senses and mind was due to the action of the internal potency of the Lord. In this verse, therefore, the word Swadhamana means by spiritual energy. Spiritual enlightenment is possible by the mercy of the spiritual energy of the Lord. The chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra is first addressed to the spiritual energy of the Lord, Hare. This spiritual energy acts when a living entity fully surrenders and accepts his position as an eternal servitor. When a person places himself at the disposal or order of the Supreme Lord, that is called Sevanomukha. At that time, the spiritual energy gradually reveals the Lord to him.
All right.
Revelation by...
So Swadhama is the spiritual energy. Dhruva Maharaj explains by his personal experience that unless one comes to the spiritual platform, his bodily limbs, mind, and other facilities within the body are understood to be sleeping because we are engaged in temporary material world activities. Waking up is waking up to spiritual reality. So the purport Prabhupada quotes Srila Bhakti Thakur's very famous prayer, which said, wake up, in Sanskrit is Jeev Jago. It's a very famous prayer that many temples sing, generally in the morning time, some days, not all days. And this discussion about Swadhama will continue in verse number 7. Mother Jija, 7 translation and purport.
Text 7. My Lord, you are the Supreme One, but by your different energies, you appear differently in the spiritual and material worlds. You create the total energy of the material world by your external potency, and after creation, you enter within the material world as the super soul. You are the Supreme Person, and through the temporary modes of material nature, you create varieties of manifestation, just as fire entering into wood of different shapes burns brilliantly in different varieties. Purport. Dhruva Maharaj realized that the Supreme Absolute Truth, the personality of Godhead, acts through his different energies, not that he becomes void of impersonal and thus becomes all-pervading. The Mayavadi philosopher thinks that the absolute truth, being spread throughout the cosmic manifestation, has no personal form. But here Dhruva Maharaj, upon realization of Vedic conclusion, says, you are spread all over the cosmic manifestation by your energy. This energy is basically spiritual, but because it acts in the material world temporarily, it is called Maya or illusionary energy. In other words, for everyone but the devotees, the Lord's energy acts as external energy. Dhruva Maharaj could understand this fact very nicely, and he could understand also that the energy of the energetic are one and the same. The energy cannot be separated from the energetic. The identity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the feature of Paramatma or Super Soul is admitted herein. His original spiritual energy enlivens the material energy, and thus the dead body appears to have life force. Where, why these philosophers think that under certain material conditions the symptoms of life occur in the material body, but the fact is that the material body cannot act on its own. Even a machine needs separate energy, electricity, steam, etc. It is stated in this verse that the material energy acts in varieties of material bodies. Just as fire burns differently in different wood accordingly to the size and quality of the wood. In the case of devotees, the same energy is transformed into spiritual energy. This is possible because the energy is originally spiritual, not material. As it is said, Vishnu Sakti Para Prokta. The original energy inspires a devotee, and thus he engages all his bodily limbs in the service of the Lord. The same energy and external potency engages the ordinary non-devotees in material activities for some sense enjoyment. We should mark the difference between Maya and Swadharma for devotees. The Swadharma acts, whereas in the case of non-devotees, the Maya's energy acts. Hare Krishna.
So Swadharma is described in these two verses that Dhruva Maharaj realized the Supreme Absolute Truth, the personality of Godhead, acts through his different energies. This does not mean that he becomes void or impersonal. Mayavadi philosophers think that Absolute Truth being spread throughout the cosmic manifestation has no personal form. But this is incorrect. Voidist philosophers think that under certain material conditions, the symptoms of life occur in the material body. Rather, the fact is that material body cannot act on its own. Material energy acts in varieties of material bodies. In the case of devotees, the same energy is transformed into spiritual energy. This is possible because the energy is originally spiritual, not material. The original energy inspires a devotee, and thus he engages his bodily limbs in the service of the Lord. And the same energy as external potency engages the ordinarily materialistic people in material activities for sense enjoyment. For devotees, the Swadharma acts, whereas in case of non-devotees, the Maya energy acts. You see, 5-year-old boy, he can understand and explain such technical details that very difficult to understand for many. Why? Because he got the mercy of the Lord. Questions, comments, realizations? So verses 8 and 9 state that Lord is the shelter of Jnani, Jigyasu, Artha devotees and Artha-Arthi devotees. So these four kinds of devotees, which we have studied in Bhagavad Gita 7.16. Mother Chandra Aunty, verses 8 and 9 translations.
Text. Sorry. Text 8. O my master, Lord Brahma is fully surrendered unto you. In the beginning, you gave him knowledge, and thus he could see and understand the entire universe, just as a person awakened from sleep and visualize his immediate duties. You are the only shelter of all persons who desire liberation, and you are the friend of all who are desired. How therefore can a learned person who has perfect knowledge ever forget you? Purport also, Prabhu?
Just translations 9.
Okay. Text 9, translation. Persons worship you simply for the sense gratification of this bag of skin are certainly influenced by your illusory energy. In spite of having you, who are like a desire tree and are the cause of liberation from birth and death, foolish person such as me desire benedictions from you for sense gratification, which is available even for those who live in hellish condition. Hare Krishna.
So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has described that verse 8 describes three kinds of devotees from Bhagavad Gita 7.16, which 7.16 has four kinds of devotees that start rendering devotional service to Krishna. So Lord gives knowledge to the Jnani Bhakta to see the world. Lord's lotus feet are shelter of Jikyasu Bhakta. Lord is friend of Artha Bhakta. And in verse 9, Dhruva Maharaj says, you are like the desire tree and the cause of liberation. And Dhruva Maharaj is calling himself foolish because of wanting material benedictions. The Arthi from Bhagavad Gita 7.16, the lowest among the four kinds of people who start rendering devotional service to Krishna. Verses 10 to 12 is the glory of Bhakti and devotee association. Now, liberation is not the ultimate benefit of worshipping the Lord. Therefore, verse number 10 states the superiority of bhakti and explains the term patatam vimanat. Patatam means of those who fall down, and vimanat means from their airplanes. So patatam vimanat is explaining that those who are elevated to heavenly planets are like airplanes which drop when they run out of fuel. Uncle, verse 10 translation.
Hare Krishna. Verse 10 translation. My Lord, the transcendental bliss derived from meditating upon your lotus feet or hearing about your glories from pure devotees is so unlimited that is far beyond the stage of Brahmananda, wherein one thinks himself merged in the impersonal Brahman as one with the Supreme. Since Brahmananda is also defeated by the transcendental bliss derived from devotional service, then what to speak of the temporary blissfulness of elevating oneself to the heavenly planets, which is ended by separating sword of time. Although one may be elevated to the heavenly planets, he falls down in due course of time. Hare Krishna.
So bliss derived from meditation on your lotus feet or by hearing your glories from pure devotees is far beyond Brahmanda. Then what to speak of heavenly happiness, which is ended by the sword of time? And that in verse 10 purport, the words Patatam Vimanat is explained. Uncle, verse 10 purport.
Verse 10 purport. The transcendental bliss derived from devotional service, primarily from Shravanam Kirtanam, hearing and chanting, cannot be compared to the happiness derived by karmi, by elevating themselves to the heavenly planets, or by jnanis or yogis, who enjoy oneness with the Supreme Impersonal Brahman. Yogis generally meditate upon the transcendental form of Vishnu. But devotees not only meditate upon him, but actually engage in direct service of the Lord. In the previous verse, we find the phrase Bhava Payaya, which means refer to the birth and death. The Lord can give relief from the chain of birth and death. It is misunderstanding to think, as do the monists, that when one gets relief from the process of birth and death, he emerges into the Supreme Brahman. Here it is clearly said that the transcendental bliss derived from Shravanam Kirtanam by pure devotees cannot be compared to Brahmananda or the impersonal conception of transcendental bliss derived by merging into the Absolute. The position of karmis is still more degraded. Their aim is to elevate themselves to the higher planetary system. It is said, Yanti Deva Vrta Devan, persons who worship the demigods are elevated to the heavenly planets. Bhagavad Gita 9.25. But elsewhere in Bhagavad Gita 9.21, we find that Kisine Pune Martiya Lokam Vishanti, those who are elevated to the higher planetary system must come down again as soon as the results of their pious activities are exhausted. They are like the modern astronauts who go to the moon. As soon as their fuel is used up, they are obliged to come back down to this earth. As the modern astronauts who go to the moon or heavenly planets by force of jet propulsion have to come down again after exhausting their fuel. So also, those who are elevated to the heavenly planets by force of yagnas and pious activities, antakasi lulitat, by the sword of time, one is cut from his exalted position within this material world, and he comes down again. Dhruva Maharaja appreciated that the results of devotional service are far more valuable than merging into the absolute or being elevated to the heavenly planets. This word, Patatam Vimana, are very significant. Vimana means airplane. Those who are elevated to the heavenly planets are like airplanes, which drop when they run out of fuel. Hare Krishna.
Patatam, that of those who fall down, and Vimanat is from their airplanes, that those who are elevated to heavenly planets are like airplanes which drop when they run out of fuel. Bhagavad Gita 9.21, we read, explains that those who are elevated to higher planetary systems they must come down again as soon as the results of their pious credits are exhausted. And these people are like modern astronauts who go to the moon. As soon as their fuel is used up, they are obliged to come back down to this earth. Similarly, those who are elevated to heavenly planets by force of their yajna and pious activities, they also have to come down to earthly planets after their pious credits are exhausted. By the sword of time, one is cut from his exalted position within this material world and he comes down again. And Dhruva Maharaj appreciated that the results of devotional service are far more valuable than merging into the absolute or even being elevated to heavenly planets. Questions, comments, realizations?
Beautiful examples, Prabhuji,
Yeah,
which impregnates in the mind.
yeah, very good. And that Srimad Bhagavatam is analogy after analogy after analogy, so that we can understand the unknown from the known that we know. So, Dhruva Maharaj established that bhakti is superior. But this bhakti will not be matured without association of devotees. Therefore, in his next set of prayers, Dhruva Maharaj prays for devotee association. Plus, by devotee association, one can get detached from material entanglement. So somebody may ask a question that, what about crossing this samsara? And from these prayers, these verses, it is understood that crossing over the samsara is a byproduct of bhakti. Devotees are not so much concerned about crossing the samsara. Rather, devotees are focused on doing devotional services. Kalyani, are you able to read 11 translation purport?
Correct. Once. Hare Krishna. Text 11. Dhruva Maharaja continued, O unlimited Lord, kindly bless me so that I may associate with great devotees who engage in your transcendental loving service constantly, as the waves of a river constantly flow. Such transcendental devotees are completely situated in an uncontaminated state of life. By the process of devotional service, I shall surely be able to cross the nascent ocean of material existence, which is filled with the waves of blazing fire-like dangers. It will be very clear for me, for I am becoming mad to hear about your transcendental qualities and pastimes, which are eternally existent. The significant point in Dhruva Maharaja's statement is that he wanted the association of few devotees. Transcendental devotional service cannot be complete and cannot be relishable without the association of devotees. We have therefore established the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Anyone who is trying to be aloof from this Krishna Consciousness Society and yet engage in Krishna Consciousness is living in a great hallucination, for this is not possible. From this statement by Dhruva Maharaj, it is clear that unless one is associated with devotees, his devotional service does not mature. It does not become distinct from material activities. The Lord says, Satam prasanga mama virya samavido bhavanti hrit karna rasayanaha. That is in verbal 3.25 to 0.25. Only in the association of pure devotees can the words of Lord Krishna be fully potent and relishable to the heart and ear. Dhruva Maharaja explicitly wanted the association of devotees. That association in devotional activity is just like the waves of an incessantly flowing river. In our Krishna consciousness society, we have full engagement 24 hours a day. Every moment of our time is always busily engaged in the service of the Lord. This is called the incessant flow of devotional service. A Mayavadi philosopher may question us, you may be very happy in the association of devotees, but what is your plan for crossing the ocean of material existence? Dhruva Maharaja's answer is that it is not very difficult. He clearly says that this ocean can be crossed very easily if one simply becomes mad to hear the glories of the Lord. Bhagavad Guna Katha. For anyone who persistently engages in hearing the topics of the Lord from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Chaitanya Charitamrita, and who is actually addicted to this process, just as one becomes addicted to the intoxicants, it is very easy to cross the nescience of material existence. The ocean of material nescience is compared to a blazing fire, but to a devotee, this blazing fire is insignificant because he is completely absorbed in devotional service. Although the material world is blazing fire, to a devotee it appears full of pleasure. Shall I continue, Prabhuji?
Yeah.
The purport of this statement by Dhruva Maharaja is that devotional service in the association of devotees is the cause of development of further devotional service. By devotional service only is one elevated to the transcendental planet Goloka Vrindavana, and there is only devotional service, and there is only devotional service for the activities of devotional service, both in this world and in the spiritual world, are one and the same. Devotional service does not change. The example of a mango can be given here. If one gets an unripe mango, it is still a mango. And when it is ripe, it remains the same mango, but it has become more tasteful and delicious. Similarly, there is devotional service performed according to the direction of spiritual master and the injunctions and regulative principles of Shastra, and there is devotional service in this spiritual world rendered directly in association with the Supreme Personality of God. But they are both the same. There is no change. The difference is that one stage is unripe and other is ripe and more relishable. It is possible to mature in devotional service only in the association of devotees. Hare Krishna.
Without devotee association, devotional service does not mature. Only in devotee association, Krishna Katha is relishable. Many devotees say, well, I want to follow Krishna consciousness by myself. Well, it will not mature. Yes, you can follow, but you will stay very shallow. Now, this crossing samsara, the blazing fire of material existence, becomes very easy. But for a devotee, the blazing fire of samsara is insignificant because the devotee is absorbed in devotional service. And this devotee association is the cause of further development of bhakti. Now, another very nice analogy we just read about the unripe and ripe mango. This is going to be our spiritual endeavor for today. Now this devotee association discussion continues in verse number 12. Kalyani, 12 translation and purport. Continue.
Yes. 12. O Lord, who have a lotus navel, if a person happens to associate with a devotee whose heart always hankers after your lotus feet, seeking always the fragrance, he is never attached to the material body or in a bodily relationship to offspring, friends, home, wealth, and wife, which are very, very dear to materialistic persons. Indeed, he does not care for them. A special advantage in devotional service is that devotees not only enjoy the transcendental pastimes of the Lord by hearing and chanting and glorifying them, but are also not very much attached to their bodies, unlike the yogis who are too attached to the body and who think that by performing bodily gymnastic exercises, they will advance in spiritual consciousness. Yogis are generally not very much interested in devotional service. They want to regulate the breathing process. This is simply a bodily concern. Here, Dhruva Maharaja plainly says that a devotee has no more bodily interest. He knows that he is not the body. From the very beginning, therefore, without wasting time in bodily exercises, a devotee searches out a pure devotee and simply by his association becomes more advanced in spiritual consciousness than any yogi. Because a devotee knows that he is not the body, he is never affected by bodily happiness or distress. He is not interested in bodily relationships with wife, children, home, bank balance, etc., or in the distress and happiness which come from these things. This is the special advantage of being a devotee. This status of life is possible only when a person is interested in associating with a pure devotee who always enjoys the fragrance of the lotus feet of the Lord.
So, a lot of important discussion about devotee association. We have discussed this throughout, and therefore we also read these important purports. Questions, comments, realizations? Verses 13 to 16 is the glory of the Lord. Mother Jija, 13-14 translation.
Text 13. Translation. My dear Lord, O Supreme Unborn, I know that the different varieties of living entities such as animals, trees, birds, reptiles, demigods, and human beings are spread throughout the universe, which is caused by the total material energy, and I know that they are sometimes manifest and sometimes unmanifest, but I have never experienced the supreme form I behold as I see you now. Now all kinds of methods of theorizing have come to an end. Text 14. Translation. My dear Lord, at the end of each millennium, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Garbho Dakshaya Vishnu, dissolves everything manifested within the universe into his belly. He lies down on the lap of Sheshanag. From his navel sprouts a golden lotus flower on a stem, and on that lotus Lord Brahma is created. I can understand that you are the same Supreme Godhead. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Hare Krishna.
So Dhruva Maharaj is saying that previously I only knew the varieties of the gross and subtle elements manifested as the 8.4 million life forms. But I had never experienced your supreme form as I am seeing it now. And we read in verse number 14, which explains about Garbhodakshai Vishnu. Just straightforward. Now, verse number 15 has the differences between the Lord and the Jivas. So, in his prayers, Dhruva Maharaj is explaining about the Lord as that he now understands the Lord. So, he goes on to explain this difference between the Lord and the Jivas. Now, for this verse number 15, make a table of 2 columns. The title of the 2 columns are, left is quality of the Lord versus quality of conditioned souls. So I will explain the various points for these differences. Mother Jija, you can continue reading 15 translation.
For translation 15. My Lord, by your unbroken transcendental glance, you are the supreme witness of all stages of intellectual activities. You are externally liberated. Eternally liberated. Your existence is situated in pure goodness, and you are existent in the super soul without change. You are the original personality of Godhead, full with 6 opulences, and you are eternally the master of the 3 modes of material nature. Thus, you are always different from the ordinary living entities. As Lord Vishnu, you maintain all the affairs of the entire universe, and yet you stand aloof and are the enjoyer of the results of all sacrifices. Hare Krishna.
So, populate your table. I will give you the points for the comparison for the quality of the Lord versus quality of conditioned souls. So quality of Lord is eternally liberated versus liberated by Lord's mercy. Next is completely pure versus Jiva is contaminated. Next is Lord is omniscient versus Jiva has little knowledge. Next is Lord is super soul versus Jiva has material body covering. Next, Lord is changeless versus Jiva takes many forms. Next, Lord is original supreme personality and the cause versus Jiva is not the cause. Next is Lord is full of 6 opulences versus Jiva is without good qualities. Lord is master of 3 modes versus Jiva is controlled by the modes. Next, Lord is stable in intelligence versus Jiva's intelligence is subject to conditions of waking, sleeping, and dreaming. Next, Lord is constant seer through Chit Shakti. Versus Jiva has disrupted vision because intelligence goes through waking, sleeping, and dreaming. Next, Lord is maintaining the universe. Versus Jiva cannot even maintain own self. And the last point is, Lord is enjoyer of sacrifices. Versus Jiva is dependent. So all these points, Prabhupada has explained in the purport as the comparison between Lord and the Jiva. So I request we'll read this verse number 15 translation again. You can have this 2-column chart in front of you and will make a little more sense. Maharajija, verse 15 translation again with the 2 columns in front of you.
Translation. My Lord, by your unbroken transcendental glance, you are the supreme witness of all stages of intellectual activities. You are eternally liberated. Your existence is situated in pure goodness, and you are existent in the supreme super soul without change. You are the original personality of Godhead, full with 6 opulences, as you are eternally the master of the 3 modes of material nature. Thus, you are always different from the ordinary living entities. As Lord Vishnu, you maintain all the affairs of the entire universe, and yet you stand aloof and are the enjoyer of the results of all sacrifices. Hare Krishna.
Questions, comments, realizations?
Prabhuji, the point number 10, if you can repeat, will be helpful.
Which point are you referring to?
10 out of 12, quality of the Lord versus quality of the conditioned soul. The 10th point, conscious true. I
Yeah.
didn't.
All
Yes,
right.
sir.
Yeah. 10th point is constant seer through Chit Shakti versus Jiva has disrupted vision because intelligence goes through waking, sleeping, and dreaming.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Vijay Prabhu, go ahead.
Prabhuji, what is this waking, sleeping, and dreaming like references in this point?
We are sleeping. So during the night when we sleep, yeah, that is sleeping. Versus spiritually also, most of the people are sleeping because they are not aware. So it refers to these both ways. And even when we are awake, what are we engaged in? Temporary bodily activities. That is no different than sleeping because it's not doing anything to us. Abhishek Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
All right. Now, verse number 16 is a prayer to Brahman. Because, yes, Supreme Personality of Godhead is the original cause of all causes. Still, Brahman is the immediate cause of material manifestation. Therefore, Dhruva Maharaj also offers prayers to Brahman and describes the qualities of Brahman. Chandran Prabhu, 16 translation.
Hare Krishna. 16 translation. My dear Lord, in your impersonal manifestation of Brahman, there are always two opposing elements, knowledge and ignorance. Your multi-energies are continually manifest. But the impersonal Brahman, which is undivided, original, changeless, unlimited, and blissful, is the cause of the material manifestation. Because you are the same impersonal Brahman, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Hare Krishna.
So the qualities are, first, as various energies with opposing natures. So the various energies are knowledge and ignorance. The second quality is that is the cause of material creation. Third is one. Fourth is unlimited. Then fifth is original. And sixth is changeless. So in the purport, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives an example to explain the different levels of transcendentalist with their different visions of the absolute truth. Again, a very good analogy. So Vishwanath Thakur explains that a person proceeding towards a destination, as he approaches, he sees the destination from a distant place, that just as we see a city from a distance. From a distance, at that time, he simply understands that the city is situated at a distance. When he comes still closer to the city, he sees the domes, the flags, etc. But as soon as he enters the city, he sees various paths, gardens, lakes, marketplaces, with shops and persons moving around, buying, etc. So he sees varieties in cinema house and he sees dancing and jubilation. He sees everything. So when a person actually enters the city and personally sees the activities of the city, he becomes satisfied. So this all explain that how Brahman effulgence is just that, okay, something exists, and then goes all the way to Bhagwan realization, where you see all the variegatedness. Questions, comments, realizations?
Sometimes it is said that Brahman is without qualities, So here we discuss qualities. Is this a different kind of understanding or the
So,
initial?
Brahman has no activities. Brahman is an expansion of the Lord. So Brahman does not have a form, but is an expansion. So we'll have some qualities. So the qualities that I described, they are not personal qualities. You can see what did I say the qualities that they has opposing natures of knowledge and ignorance, is the cause of material creation, is unlimited, is original, is changeless. These are all non-personal qualities. But what we have discussed multiple times is that at Brahman effulgence, there is no activity, not about qualities. Abhishek Prabhu?
Thank you for it.
All right, last verse for today is verse 17. Dhruva Maharaj prays for bhakti and for protection. Abhishek Prabhu, 17 translation.
Text 17. Translation. My Lord, O Supreme Lord, you are the supreme personified form of all benediction. Therefore, for one who abides in your devotional service with no other desire, worshipping your lotus feet is better than becoming king and lording it over a kingdom. That is the benediction of worshipping your lotus feet. To ignorant devotees like me, you are the causeless merciful maintainer, just like a cow who takes care of the newly born calf by supplying milk and giving it protection from attack.
So Dhruva Maharaj prays that your lotus feet are highest attainable blessing, surpassing all material blessings. You mercifully maintain even ignorant devotees like me. Dhruva Maharaj is calling himself again ignorant. Previously also he called himself foolish. And he gives the analogy, just as a cow protects her calf. So cow gives milk to ignorant calf and protects the calf from wild animals, even though the calf does not serve the cow. Similarly, Lord, let's have the taste of bhakti even to those who worship the Lord with material desires. These are the prayers, questions, comments, realizations. The next set of verses from 18 to 26, part 3, are straightforward verses that the Lord bestows benediction to Dhruva and then he departs. I won't push them right now. We will discuss them at our next class. So you have a lot of spiritual endeavor questions. So write down. Question number 1. Explain the term Brahma Maya. Comes from verse number 4. Second, what is the analogy regarding Patatam Vimanat? Comes from verse number 10. Third is an analogy, long statement. Analogies from 4.9.11. Ripe mango remains the same mango as unripe mango, but ripe mango becomes more tasteful and relishable. Similarly, devotional service performed under direction of spiritual master and devotional service in spiritual world, rendered directly in association with the Lord, are the same. The difference is that one stage is unripe and other is ripe and more relishable. Fourth question is, what example does Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur give to explain different levels of transcendentalist with their different visions of absolute truth? Comes from verse number 16. And number 5, read Canto 4, rest of chapter 9 if you have not already read it. Thank you for tolerating few extra minutes. We'll stop here. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank